Floyd! Floyd! I'll knock you out! He's sick, look at him.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this, a continuation to a story I talked about in my previous video as it pertains to Chantelle Cameron and the bone she's got to pick with Eddie Hearn, who she says was jumping up and down after Katie beat her, that he was jubilant.
Which was embarrassing for her because he promotes them both.
This is Eddie Hearn's response to those comments. She never seems happy with the job we've done. We got you a world title fight behind closed doors, a defense in Las Vegas, and then I created a tournament just for you to get you to undisputed. Then in that first fight, Dillian White pulled out, and I kept that show on to headline with you at the O2, losing me several £100,000 to keep the show on. Then I got you 2 life-altering, career and legacy-defining fights with Katie Taylor. Made millions of pounds. I don't know what else we can do. I never jumped up and down and celebrated once. I didn't cheer anybody on.
I've already seen the first reactions to Chantelle's comment.
In truth, I've been seeing them since before the first Katie Taylor fight, back when Chantelle Cameron had her Matchroom stablemate, Ellie Scottney, removed from the card on the predication that Ellie is trained by Shane McGuigan, Chantelle's old trainer, and that she wouldn't be focused and wouldn't be comfortable if she had to box on the same card with Shane around. So they literally had Ellie removed from the show. What was Ellie's opportunity to showcase her skills and her talents in front of a large audience.
She didn't get to do that. They had her fight pushed back and put on another card. I saw people's reactions to that, and I noticed a lot of people didn't like that.
I'm seeing it now. People saying that not only is Chantelle a sore winner, she's a sore loser, she's a malcontent.
She keeps saying that the people at Matchroom knew she was a threat to Katie.
That didn't stop them from making the fight, though. That didn't stop them from making the fight, not just once, but twice. So even if they did know she was a threat to Katie Taylor, what's the complaint? The fight happened anyway. As soon as Amanda Serrano dropped out injured,
they gave it to Chantelle.
So what's the complaint? This has turned into a bona fide case of he said, she said, where Chantelle says that Eddie Hearn was jubilant and he was jumping up and down and that was embarrassing for her because he promotes her too. He's saying he wasn't jumping up and down. He wasn't cheering for anybody. So if Chantelle is so displeased with the job that Matchroom has done, seeing her crowned a unified champion and subsequently an undisputed champion, boxing Katie Taylor not once but twice, a fight that on more than one occasion she told me would never happen.
And I told her it would.
And it did, 2 times. The only recommendation that I can make is that if by some chance there's not going to be a third Katie Taylor fight, or, just when her deal is up with Matchroom, if she's that unhappy with the job they've done so far, maybe she can take her talents elsewhere, like Natasha Jonas did. Natasha Jonas wasn't happy over there at Matchroom. She went over there to box her, and it worked out for her, so maybe Chantelle can do the same thing when her deal is up.
Being honest, from the consumer perspective, from the boxing fan perspective, I think they've done a great job with her. They've gotten her to titles at 140, titles at 147. Now the world knows that Chantelle Cameron is a force to be reckoned with due to the promotion she's gotten at Matchroom. But if she's not happy,
for whatever reason, reconcilable or otherwise, that's the alternative. That's her option. When her existing deal with Matchroom is up, maybe she can see about going to Boxer if she thinks Boxer can do a better job with what remains of her career than Matchroom can. Or Queensbury, if they're interested. They just signed a couple of girls.
She can be another if she really wants, if she thinks she can be promoted better at Boxer and make more money at Boxer, or make more money at Queensbury. That's something to look into, because it does seem like no matter what Matchroom does, she's just not happy with them.
Much less now that she's coming off a loss. So if the situation can't be remedied, and doesn't look like it can, it looks like Chantelle's always angry for one reason, some reason or another. And I'm a big fan of Chantelle's boxing, so don't misunderstand me.
And I think she's pretty fucking hot.
The point is, I feel like Matchroom has done right by Chantelle Cameron. They've gotten her the significant fights, the meaningful fights, the title fights, and the Katie Taylor fight that she thought she would never get, but she got it. 2 of them. And she can have another if she wants it.
I think they've done right by her. I think they've done a good job.
But if she doesn't, well, it's her career. Let somebody else do it. If she thinks somebody else can do a better job than Matchroom has, then Matchroom can. It's very simple.
As soon as her existing deal is up, she can take her talents elsewhere.
What about public perception?
She's already being criticized for being petulant and difficult in the eyes of some. So she'll be subject to the same criticism that Natasha Jonas was subject to when she decided to change her decorum. Though in the end, it did work out for Natasha. She moved up to 154 and she won all those belts. So yeah, there are going to be critics, but there are always going to be critics.
The bottom line is, if she's not happy there, the first thing she should do when her deal is up is leave.
In men's lightweight and super lightweight news, I'm sure you're all aware already, there was a lengthy back and forth exchange between Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney that started this morning. Gervonta Davis said this and that about Snack Systems, which was founded by Victor Conti. He said, get that snack shit out of boxing. And it just so happens that Devin Haney is a Snack Systems fighter.
That wasn't a coincidence. He also mentioned Eddie Hearn, saying, and Eddie was about to let someone fight after the dude got caught cheating.
He's talking about Conor Benn.
Twitter user that goes by the name BP Boxing said, Conor Benn isn't with Snack, so what's your point? To which Gervonta replied, but Ben was caught cheating and Eddie Hearn was gonna let him fight. You dumb fuck.
What's he taking shots at Eddie Hearn for? Eddie Hearn doesn't actually have to be involved in any dialogues, any talks for a Haney versus Davis fight. They can do that amongst themselves if he wants.
Gervonta continued, and when I go get him being Devin Haney, I promise on my soul, not gonna like what I'm gonna do to Lil Buddy. Devin Haney himself, he started off by saying, Tank is a pussy. He's scared to death of me. He always says he wants to fight when I have a fight lined up already. Well, now I'm free. Let's make it happen.
It won't.
He addressed Gervonta Davis's criticisms for Snack Systems, which he's a member of, and to that Devin said, Mario Barrios was working with Snack too. What's the problem now?
No.
I understand the query. If you didn't have any problems fighting one Snack Systems fighter, why would it be a problem to fight another?
And he fought him at 140 pounds for a lesser version of a WBA title at 140 pounds, so what's the problem with fighting Devin there? That's where he is.
Devin Haney, who says, I will never go back to 135 pounds. Get it out of your head.
I already thought that this fight wasn't going to happen due to the money issues. You have to understand that Devin's been making very good money for a long time now, and that's all without Gervonta Davis. So with Gervonta Davis, the expectation will be that he will make even more.
In theory, but I think that what Devin will find is that Gervonta and his team are unwilling to accommodate him. Thus, on the premise of money, the money alone it would take to make the fight, I expected that it wouldn't happen. Now all this stuff about weight starts up, all of a sudden Gervonta Davis...
What stuff about weight?
There's a public document by way of the California Athletic Commission that shows the night of the fight, after the weigh-in, the night of the fight, Devin Haney came in at approximately 165 pounds, 25 pounds up from weigh-in weight, which is a lot of weight. And now what people are saying is that Devin should have to acquiesce to weight stipulations, adhere to a catch weight, or a rehydration clause of some kind to fight Gervonta Davis. Not that Gervonta is making him an offer to fight, because he isn't, but that's the nature of the conversation. That's why you're hearing all this stuff about weight.
I wasn't actually in a hurry to address this story because for me it seems much ado about nothing. It's just Gervonta Davis making empty promises again, empty threats.
Responding to Devin Haney saying, I promise you, your father is gonna cry for what I'm gonna do to you, and that's on my dead homie. Your best bet is to enjoy it while you can.
Fuck you and your dead homie. You ain't gonna do shit.
Gervonta Davis ain't gonna do a goddamn thing to nobody. Right after he posted that, he deleted the tweet, as he always does. He always...
Told the mates by now, it's expected. We've been seeing these kinds of back and forths for years between Gervonta Davis and some other fighters. Back and forths with Tevin Farmer, empty promises about Vasyl Lomachenko. In the end, he didn't fight either of them.
And I don't think he's gonna fight Devin. I don't think he's about to. Before he deleted that tweet where he made those empty threats, empty promises, Devin Haney responded to him by saying, "Let's make it happen. I'm free, and I'll betcha it doesn't happen. I'll betcha Gervonta won't. He's not gonna do anything." Now, a lot of other content creators were in a hurry to start pumping out videos about this little back and forth, but I myself took my time because I don't think it's going to amount to anything. In truth, I wasn't even gonna talk about it. I was gonna skip over this story, but this is a top story in the sport right now.
So I guess I have to talk about it, but what am I supposed to say? I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think they're going to fight. We've seen Gervonta Davis go back and forth with his contemporaries like this via social media, and it seldom ever results in a fight. The only time it ever resulted in a fight was with Ryan Garcia, but I told you, yeah, he'll fight Ryan. He won't fight those other guys. He won't fight Lomachenko or Teofimo. He won't even make an offer to George, and he's not going to fight Devin.
Shakur Stevenson, he's right there. And in many ways, he just got to 135 pounds. So no weight stipulations are necessary to make a fight with him. But I'm telling you, he's not going to fight him either.
Much less Devin, who he was arguing with earlier today. Much less Devin, who's at 140 now, heading up to 147.
Devin Haney's father and trainer, Bill Haney, has insisted that they will not even consider any catch weight or rehydration clauses for a potential Gervonta Davis fight and said it must be at super lightweight, 140 pounds. Let the rules be the rules and let the best man win. You cannot get on Mount Rushmore of boxing with those rules stipulation. He's the rehydration champion.
He's a hype job. We know that already. How many times have I said that here on this channel? He don't want to fight nobody with a pulse, not unless he can drain them.
Even more peculiar is the same people that endorse and support Gervonta Davis's weight stipulations. Those are the same people that try to criticize Canelo for his.
But when's the last time Canelo Alvarez used one? There were no weight stipulations in the Callum Smith fight, the Billy Joe Saunders fight, the Caleb Plant fight, or the Dimitri Bivol fight.
There were no weight stipulations in any of those fights. Oddly enough, it's Gervonta Davis's fans that like to criticize Canelo for weight stipulations they say he used.
But they're okay with Gervonta's. Make it make sense.
People are fucking stupid. They should know by now Gervonta's not gonna fight any of these people, irrespective of what he says on social media. These people are fucking retards. So stop arguing with them. Whatever they say, just agree with it and move on.
I'm not even gonna get into the whole he should have to or he shouldn't have to, the ideology, this team versus that one's for what? Gervonta's not gonna fight him.
He's not gonna fight anyone, so what's the point? What's the point in splitting hairs and busting brain cells worrying about his career when there's a clear and established pattern by now? This guy didn't feel comfortable boxing Ryan Garcia, of all people, unless he could stick weight stipulations on him. And we talked about how flawed he is all the time. But Gervonta wouldn't fight him unless he could stick weight stipulations on him. So of course, he'd want to do the same thing to Devin Haney. And Team Haney are saying, no weight stipulations, no rehydration clauses. Thus,
they are at an impasse. They're not gonna fight. And this is much ado about nothing.
Devin is on his way to welterweight, and he should proceed for the rest of his career with the understanding that Gervonta Davis doesn't want to fight him, so he shouldn't waste his time. Now, all of this talk, this recent revelation that Devin weighed in approximately 165 pounds the night of the fight, has given rise to talk that Devin is a bit of a weight bully, that he's winning these fights because he's walking in.
And it's the Haymanites saying this the most. It's the PBC fans of all people that are accusing Devin of being a weight bully.
What's a weight bully?
A weight bully is a terminology exclusive to the sport of boxing, to whereas a fighter that should be campaigning at one weight is campaigning at a lower weight. That he's cutting a lot of weight so that the night of the fight, once he rehydrates, he can have a size advantage over the other fighter.
And they're accusing Devin of being a weight bully. Was it weight that won him the Regis Prograis fight? No, I wouldn't say that. I don't think so, because Devin's methodology, his fighting style, doesn't involve throwing his weight around. So often in boxing, the fans want one-size-fits-all answers for most every situation when every situation is not the same. Devin is a pure boxer, an outside fighter. He's not throwing his weight around by staying behind his own jab.
On the outside,
He's not stepping into the jab, bringing over other punches, big right hands, and big combinations, imposing his will on what is the perceived smaller fighter. No, that's not how Devin fights. Devin is not a physical fighter. For a more accurate depiction of what a weight bully would be, you've got to look at David Benavidez. He, like Devin Haney, rehydrates.
this is a guy who cuts a lot of weight, and I mean a lot of weight, to make super middleweight, so that the night of the fight, he can walk in there a cruiserweight.
And he, unlike Devin Haney, he is a physical fighter. He's a pressure fighter, a volume puncher, a combination puncher that spends the majority of the round and the majority of a fight coming forward, trying to impose his will on his opponent, to beat them into submission. If I had to say who's a weight bully, I would sooner say that about David before I'd say that about Devin. See, what Devin weighed on the night of the fight, let's say that Devin weren't a pure boxer. Let's say that Devin weighed what he weighed, approximately 165 pounds, but he decides he's not going to stay behind his jab. He's going to step into it. He's going to stay in front of Regis Prograis. Do you know what happens to Devin if he does that?
He gets knocked out.
He would have got himself knocked the fuck out. He would have played right into Regis's hands and been subject to Regis's counterpunching. Suddenly, Regis doesn't have to struggle to get past the jab. He doesn't have to struggle to find Devin Haney. If Devin Haney is coming forward and standing right in front of him, all Regis has to do is shift his weight onto his back foot and counter.
But Devin did the opposite. He stayed on the outside, pumping out his jab, making Regis work to get within striking distance of him. What won Devin Haney the fight more than anything was his style, his base style. He's a pure boxer.
Hit, not get hit, completely defensively minded, even though he knew he could hurt Regis, and even after he knocked him down, he still didn't throw caution to the wind.
Is weight bullying really a thing, though?
To some people it is, but not to me. The reason it isn't is because this is not a practice that is exclusive to either Devin Haney or David Benavidez. This practice is widespread throughout the sport and all of its weight classes. Practically everyone is doing it to some degree. Thus, I'm not going to point out what Devin does it any more than I'm going to point out when David does it when so many other people are doing it. You can't pigeonhole any one or two fighters for a practice that is widespread. Moreover, this practice has its drawbacks.
Why'd you say that you would sooner accuse David of weight bullying than Devin? What's the difference?
The difference is Devin actually moved up in weight. Devin moved up from 135 up to 140, and now he's going to 147, whereas David's been at super middleweight for years, and he has yet to move up.
And he's not about to. I often point out why. The reason why is because at 175, he won't have the advantages he has at 168.
So if I were to categorize one of those two guys as being a weight bully, it would be the guy who's relying on his weight more than the other to stay in character, and that seems to be David.
You can't say that about Devin because that's not how he fights, and you can't say that about Devin because Devin's moving up. David isn't. When is David gonna do that?
Overall, weight bullying, as it were, is not something I spend a lot of time on because for all of its pros, it has some cons. If you do that long enough,
It's gonna backfire, like it backfired on former junior middleweight champion Jarrett Hearn.
one day, an otherwise durable fighter walks in there and all of his punch resistance is gone. That is the byproduct of staying at a weight, cutting too much weight for too long.
At some point, you're supposed to move up. The ones that don't, they end up like Jarrett Hearn.